So first I'd like to acknowledge Professor Shane Dawson, the Executive Dean of Education Futures, UniSA, Professor Sam Seller, the Dean of Research Education Futures, UniSA, Mr. Abdullah Khan, who I don't see also, maybe somebody can text him. Mr. Abdullah Khan is the President of the Islamic Schools Association of Australia. He's Mr. Shaheen, just in time. In fact, I'm just about to read your name, so there you go. I'm acknowledging. And then Professor Khalil Shaheen, OAM, the Managing Director of Peregrine Corporation. Mr. Ahmed Zraiqa, again, who's not here yet. He's the President of the Islamic Society of South Australia. He said he will be here. Sister Miriam Silva, the Deputy Managing Director of Crescent Wealth. Ms. Linda Sicom, the Association of Independent Schools, South Australia. Dr. Zakaria Matthews, the Principal of Malik Fahd Islamic School, New South Wales. Dr. Saeed Farouk, the CEO of Unity Grammar, New South Wales. Mr. Ali Qadri, who should be walking in any minute. He is the CEO of Islamic College of Brisbane. Mr. Usman Karolya, and the CEO of Arcana College, New South Wales. Mr. Andrew Taylor, the Principal of the Australian International Islamic College, Queensland. Dr. Abdul Razak Musa, the Chairman of the Board of Playford College, South Australia. Mr. Karim Bouday, CEO of Ilm College, Victoria. And last but not least, Mr. Mustafa Aivaz, the Principal of Irfan College, New South Wales. So thank you so much for being with us. It is our absolute pleasure to have you today. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, today indeed is a historic and momentous occasion for education broadly, but for Islamic schooling and education in Australia specifically. And today's signing of the MoU with eight Australian Islamic schools from across the country marks the beginning of a new era of collaborations and partnership in Islamic education in Australia. The agreement outlines a framework for collaborative initiatives to empower Islamic schools to become knowledge-producing sites for distinct and innovative practices. And this agreement, though non-binding, represents a significant step forward in promoting excellence in Islamic education and strengthening our collective capacity to serve the Islamic schooling community in Australia and elsewhere. The collaboration between the Centre for Islamic Thought and Education, UniSA, and the 8 Islamic schools who are represented here today is expected to have a significant impact on Islamic education in Australia and beyond. It represents a significant step toward the advancement of Islamic education and a testament to the commitment of all parties involved to work towards this important goal. And of course, this exciting and significant event would not have taken place without yourselves, everybody in this room, and specifically some few people whose name I must mention to thank for their tireless and relentless efforts. And this is my dear colleague and friends, Dr. Nadeem Memon and Brother Dylan Chow, without whom we will not be here. So Jazakumullah khair, thank you very much for that. You all know Dylan has big shoulders and he has to use them for a few times to push here and there, and we got here. So Dr. Nadeem and Brother Dylan, for your creativity, for your innovation, for you allowing us to push beyond the boundaries, and for making this happen. And of course, we would not be here definitely and most certainly without Ramila, who's hiding. I can't see Ramila. Ramila, who's the engine of CITE. Thank you very much, Ramila. Ramila and Jen Manning, who had to leave because unfortunately Jen's daughter has been recently diagnosed with cancer, and so she had to go and be with her. But Jenning was with us until maybe half an hour ago, and between Ramila and Jen, I don't think we can do much with CITE or within CITE. So thank you very much, Ramila and Jen, for your amazing efforts. And undoubtedly, CITE and the efforts of CITES and the work that we do within CITE would not even eventuate if it wasn't for Professor Shane Dawson and Professor Sam Seller, both of whom have been champions and absolute supporters of the work that we do. One of the most wonderful things is to be able to work with colleagues like both Shane and Sam, who are easy to deal with, honestly. They're not micromanaging, and they are supportive of all the creative and innovative ideas that we bring along. So thank you very much, Shane, and thank you very much, Sam, and all the colleagues from Education Futures and everyone here. Too many to name, but each one of you has played a substantially important role in making this happen. It is significant, it is momentous, and I want to thank you again for being here today. And without further ado, allow me to invite Professor Shane Dawson, the Executive Dean of Education Futures, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And if he thinks micromanagement, it's nice to know that I'm not a micromanager and easy to deal with, but wait till he sees the budget for our we'll chat about it later. Colleagues, thank you for coming, and this is a really momentous occasion for CITE, but importantly for Education Futures and UniSA. And I'll say a few words about Education Futures and what our goals are, but in this one, thank you. Just to reiterate our ongoing commitment to schooling broadly, and in particular, the opportunities that this brings forward for Islamic schooling and how we can continue to support the excellence that happens in those spaces and communicate that excellence more broadly through our wider community. It's an important aspect there. Education Futures, I think for me, I'm exceedingly proud. This is a great moment in itself, but we've had several great moments over the years now. So this one, to have the partnership typifies the excellence that we're looking forward, the types of research that we want to undertake. So with Sam will unpack this a little bit further, but we've recently reached the top 100 in the Times Higher Education, and that was on the back of a big shift in our research outputs and the quality of that. And it's not just around the theoretical aspects, it's not just the publications of journals which are all counted, we have to hit those Q1 marks, the top quartile of where we publish. It's the impact that we make with our partners is a critical space. And it's how we do that research that's applied in these spaces, such as the Islamic schools, or more broadly, whether that's in educational technologies, whether that's in higher education, other ranges of independent schools, Catholic schools, or government schools. It's all those spaces that we are making large-scale impact, and this is another opportunity to step forward in that. So, Education Futures, research, we're knocking it out of the park. Our big vision is to transform futures through the transforming of education practices. And again, the opportunities to undertake research in applied space means that we can identify those areas where we are looking at the individual student. I think one of the vexing moments for me is how many policy changes are we undergoing at the moment in education? So I think I'm up to my 10th review, whether it's a Royal Commission in South Australia, reviews through the through the federal government on the national teacher workforce, whether it's a review of the initial teacher education processes. I've been writing response after response after response. What strikes me in all that, we're not necessarily measuring the right things. Okay? We look at things like in early years we need to teach phonics. Absolutely, without a doubt. The evidence suggests that the teaching of phonics improves reading literacy, but not for every child. And then we whack on a test that measures phonics. Now, we're not testing reading there. We're measuring the student to be able to address phonics. So what happens to that subset of children who are not responding to phonics and have to have another approach or reading style or reading methodology applied to them? If we focus too much on the one area, we miss the broader aspect. And I would say when we get into our independent schools, we often end up in the same approach. We don't want blanket. We need to embrace diversity and recognise that we are dealing with individuals. And when we look at our research, it applies to individuals. When we scale up and say something has an effect size, that's aggregating a whole series of fruit when we want to reach everyone. We want to look at the grapes, the oranges, the apples that are all out there. And we need to teach them differently, and we need to respond to them differently. So this represents a great opportunity where we are applied in those spaces, where we are working hand in hand to understand the context of every school, the context of the students and the context of the teachers, to be able to support that excellence and to grow the work that's there. So thank you. This is a fantastic occasion. I'm very happy to be involved. My congratulations to Mohammed and the team. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Can I call Professor Sam Seller, the Dean of Research, UniSA? Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of our guests and partners joining us today. It's my pleasure to be part of this important ceremony, marking the beginning of a new era of collaboration and partnership for Islamic education in Australia. In my role as Dean of Research for Education Futures, I have the privilege of working with outstanding education researchers who are at the forefront of their field, both nationally and internationally. Our vision, as Professor Dawson has described, is to transform education in order to transform the futures of our young people, their communities, and society at large. This is undoubtedly an ambitious vision, but it's a realistic one, thanks to the excellence and innovation of our research and the partners who we are able to work with in pursuit of this vision. UniSA is Australia's University of Enterprise. We're known for the excellence and relevance of our research and our enduring commitment to equity. We're one of the world's top 50 young universities, and we are ranked in the top 100 universities globally for education. In UniSA Education Futures, we pursue research that supports access to quality education, which we know is critical for the lives of individuals, families, and communities. We firmly believe that education creates pathways to equity and therefore profoundly transforms the lives and future directions available to our young people. Now, while our reputation for leading research in the world of academia is evidence of its quality, this means little if it doesn't make a difference in the real world. And at UniSA, working with partners to make that difference is part of our DNA. We're also the leading young university in Australia for industry collaboration, and we've established a new model for partnered research that begins from the priorities and needs of those who our research must serve. In Education Futures, we pursue research based on long-term partnerships with industry, government, non-government organisations, and most importantly, schools. Our research investigates real-world issues faced by our educators, and we work hard to bridge theory and practice in order to ensure that our research has real impact in classrooms, schools, and beyond. Now, education research and practice must play a strong role in realising our commitment to equity and the rapidly growing need to understand how new technologies can positively impact on teaching and learning, policy, and society. Our research strengths directly address this imperative to provide inclusive education that is responsive to the needs and the cultures of the diverse communities that education serves. We're home to the Centre for Change and Complexity in Learning, which is Australia's leading site for research into educational technology, and the Centre for Research in Education and Social Inclusion, which is one of the largest research concentrations in the world, producing new knowledge about issues related to educational and social inclusion. We're also very proud to host the Centre for Islamic Thought and Education, or CITE. Over the past 7 years, CITE has played a key role in helping to deliver on our vision of transforming education to transform societies. CITE is a leading knowledge hub for Islamic thought and education. The Centre builds on Islam's long tradition of scholarship and awareness of the modern context to pursue research programs and train educators for the benefit of communities both nationally and globally. CITE exemplifies our approach to education research, producing research excellence by responding to pressing societal challenges and opportunities and partnering with schools and communities. CITE plays a critical role in sustaining UniSA as a leader in education research and Islamic education. So the ceremony today embodies the spirit of collaboration that animates our work. It's a historic occasion for Islamic education in Australia and internationally, formalising a relationship between UniSA and the schools that we're fortunate to call our partners, that is essential for our research to make a difference. It is important for us to recognise the role that schools play not only in sharing knowledge with the next generation, but generating new knowledge about teaching, learning and society. Teaching and research are fundamentally connected, and world-leading education research depends upon partnerships between universities and schools. So the agreement that is being signed today exemplifies our approach to partnered research and will provide a framework for a new period of collaboration in Islamic education. It's my pleasure to join you in marking this occasion, and I look forward to seeing this collaboration make a real difference to Islamic education in Australia and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Can I call on Brother Mr. Abdullah Khan, the President of the Islamic Schools Association of Australia, to say a few words. Thank you.
I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting on this afternoon, their elders past, present and emerging. Professor Abdullah, Director, Center for Islamic Thought and Education, Professor Shane Dawson and Professor Sam Seller, Principals and Board Chairs of Islamic Schools, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here with you today at this memorandum of understanding signing ceremony between the Islamic Schools and the Center for Islamic Thought and Education. As many of you know, that Islamic Schools Association of Australia is a leading umbrella organization that represents over 38 Islamic schools and campuses across Australia. These schools provide not only quality education, but also instill Islamic values and teaching to their students. The commitment of ISA to ensuring the provision of a holistic education that nurtures the Islamic faith and Australian identity is highly commendable. Islamic School Association of Australia is committed to continue to provide a voice and recognition for all Islamic schools and distribute resources and information to its members. It advocates on behalf of Islamic schools, works to ensure that the views of Islamic schools as well as the Muslims are more accurately and effectively represented and expressed to the education community. It provides a forum to encourage and promote and enhance the communication and collaboration among schools that emphasize the teachings of Islam to their students. It also guides and assists its members as well as others to establish Islamic schools and to enhance the educational quality and governance of its existing Islamic schools. Over the last 7 years, ISA has partnered with CITE in various initiatives aimed at improving the quality of Islamic education in Australia. CITE, a research-based center at the University of South Australia, has been actively and closely working with ISA to provide professional development opportunities for teachers, conduct research on Islamic education, and offer support to Islamic schools in Australia. The partnership between ISA and CITE has been an exemplary model of collaboration between an industry association like us and a university-based research center. Through this partnership, ISA has been able to access the academic expertise, cutting-edge research that informs the policy and practice in Islamic schools in Australia. CITE's research is grounded in Islamic worldview and informed by the latest pedagogical approaches, making it an ideal partner for ISA. Partnering with CITE is essential for ISA as it provides access to the latest research and professional development opportunities that will ensure the continuous improvement of Islamic education in Australia. The growth of Islamic schools in Australia is a testament to the increasing demand for education that is grounded in Islamic worldview. We must ensure that the quality of Islamic education is commensurate with this growth, inshallah. Today's ceremony, as we can see that 5 out of the 6 MoU signatory schools are ISA members. This shows a strong commitment and collaboration with CITE. We cannot ignore the continued growth of Islamic schools in Australia, which makes research and teachers' professional development even more important. Islamic schools must have access to the latest research and professional development opportunities to ensure that their students receive quality education that is grounded in Islamic worldview. In conclusion, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to CITE for their unwavering commitment to improving the quality of Islamic education in Australia. This MoU signing ceremony with some of the leading ISA member schools marks the beginning of another chapter in our partnership. And I'm confident that it will lead to more innovative initiatives that will benefit Islamic schools and their students. I'm excited to see the positive impact that this partnership will have on Islamic education in Australia in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Abdullah. And can I ask our sister Miriam Silva, please, who is now the Deputy Managing Director of Crescent Wealth, but has many other hijabs on, or cads, and formerly the chair of the board of Malik Fahd, and so on. Thank you, please.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'd also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Ghana land, and I thought I'd actually tell a story. So other than Brother Khalil, I'm probably the only person that knows this story. I think we might be the only two in the room that know this story. So I remember when CITE was an idea, and I remember when Bob Hawke, when he was still alive, said that the most important thing that needed to happen in Australia was that there would be an educational space for to teach people about Islam, because as the number one growing religion in the world and as the most misunderstood religion in the world, it was really important that there was a place that people could come for education and for understanding. And we chose South Australia and the University of South Australia, and I think it was even before David Lloyd as well. So it's before your current Vice-Chancellor, it was before Brother Muhammad, but I don't know, Brother Khalil and I are not that old, I promise, but certainly remember. And I know that CITE had a few starts before we finally realised what it needed to be and how it needed to work together. And as Brother Muhammad said, in terms of partnership, CITE doesn't work any other way other than in partnership with businesses, in partnership with schools, in partnerships with students, in partnership with the university, in partnership with government, in partnership with everybody. It doesn't work any other way. And I remember when Brother Muhammad and Dylan and Nadeem and everybody else came to South Australia, we said, come to South Australia, this is a really great place to live. And they kind of went, really? Maybe not. But they came and they understood the value of being in a state where you can actually get things done, and you can get things done in a different way to the other states in South Australia. So South Australia has always been an incubator of ideas and a really easy place to bring people together to allow collaboration to happen. I think if CITE had been part of a different university to University of South Australia, it may not be where we are today, and you may not all be in the room with us today as well. I remember as the chair of Malik Fahd School, so before Dr. Zach was our principal, I remember when in talking to Brother Muhammad and saying this Islamic pedagogy thing, we need to do this better, we need to do better by our students, we need to do better by our teachers, and we need to just do better. And even though we all believe in education, we actually need someone to tell us how to be better and how to do things better and how to integrate Islam into everything that we do in the schools in a way that fits with the Australian curriculum and also allows our students to be better when they enter society. I remember when Malik Fahd signed the deal with CITE, and it was a brave thing. I remember many of you in this room probably saying, "What are they doing? What are they doing? This is a bit odd. You know, we're an Islamic school. We know what we're doing." But I think it's that thing about everybody understanding what they're good at, and then using the partnerships to be able to work together to be able to achieve something that's bigger than both of us. So it makes me very happy to actually stand here and see all of you in this room and to see 8 of you sign the MoU. I can tell you that, alhamdulillah, you are in good hands with Brother Muhammad and the team, that they will listen to you, that they will work with you, that the university will support you, and that together as a collective we will be better. Yesterday, inshallah, I actually had lunch with the Vice-Chancellor, so I had lunch with David Lloyd in Sydney, and he said to me how proud he is of CITE and how proud he is of what CITE has achieved, and I think that was one of the nicest things to be able, because I told him, I was coming here today, and he sends his best wishes, and he said he's really proud of what CITE has been able to do, and proud of the fact that the schools also believe that this is a good thing to do. In terms of Crescent, we're just happy to be a partner. So we're happy to be a partner with CITE and to support all of you in whatever way that we can. So from my perspective, I really do just want to congratulate Brother Muhammad and the team, and Ramila, wherever she is, Ramila here, as well. South Australia has been my home for many years. I mean, I do live in Melbourne now, but South Australia has always been my home, and I know that Islamic education was one of the things that my mother treasured over anything else, and I know that if she was still alive, she would be sitting in this room with us saying how proud she is of everyone as well. So, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are on time, which is fantastic. May I call Linda Seacom from Association of Independent Schools, South Australia, please. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Professor Abdullah, distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I'd also like to start by recognising that we're meeting on the lands of the Kaurna people and pay my respect to all First Nations peoples here today. There is a beautiful synergy between our First Nations peoples' deep connection with country and the Islamic belief that the earth and everything in it belongs to Allah, and that we are stewards responsible for caring for it and using its resources in a sustainable and thoughtful manner. This is one example that articulates a conviction of faith that for many schools across Australia sits at the heart of their purpose. As Simon Sinek would say, this is their why. Being clear about your why shapes your guiding principles, your how and your what. We know that for all schools, clarity about who you are and what you believe in should underpin what you do, what you want to achieve, and why this matters. Your purpose builds community, provides clarity, and can lead to innovation in practice. And so, today marks a significant day in the signing of this memorandum of understanding between CITE and 8 schools. I wish you well as together you explore and tease out understandings of education in the Islamic tradition in relation to each of your school's defined purposes and contemporary educational thought. May this lead to the rich development and empowerment of young Muslim students who will graduate and contribute to our communities and societies and shape our Australian identity. Thanks.
Wow, what a perfect timing, 12:30. We'll just move to the next session, and that is a panel, some reflections from various representatives from the schools. Can I please call on Dr. Zakaria Matthews to come to the front? Dr. Said Farouk, please. Brother Ali Qadri. Is he here? Did he make it? MashaAllah. Mr. Osman Karolya, Mr. Andrew Taylor, Sister Rasha, and Brother Talha, and Mr. Mustafa Ibaz, please. And I'm just going to hand these two mics, roving mics. Bismillah.
Should the background be blue for the video, or can that stay there?
Well, thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for being here first and foremost. Really grateful to have you all, and to have this powerful panel with us is just amazing. I'd like you to share with us your reflections on what does this MoU mean for your school, if you don't mind. We'll start with that. There are two roving mics. I'm not going to nominate who's going to go first, so you can choose that. Who's going to be brave and start and say, talk about it?
As they say, ladies first.
Okay. So there you go. So, Sister Rasha, you can start and pass on, please.
Thank you. Thanks for.
Should you?
Thanks for calling me. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's absolutely a great opportunity for us as Playford College and as part of the community in South Australia. Today would mark absolutely a new day for Playford College for sure, as an Islamic school, as a new Islamic school in South Australia. Today is very, very special for us because we think that today we are helping our students and our teachers. We're helping our teachers to understand what Muslim students would need in South Australia. The more we support our teachers, it will be the chance to support the students. I remember 5 years ago, we were visiting Christian schools in South Australia. And the aim of it was to see how are Christian schools, what are they doing to support their students in understanding the Christian identity. And our aim was to go back to our school and see how can we translate that to support our students in an Islamic framework. When we got to know more about CITE, and we were working with Dr. Nadeem, and we were able to just see a different framework. We were talking about all what we were trying to do, but from an Islamic perspective, for people who live in Australia, for us to have the Islamic perspective at the same time with the Australian context, that helped us to see things much, much better, and we do know that it would help our students. Our teachers will have a better opportunity to nurture our students in a much better way when they understand the context and when they understand the Islamic identity. So today would mean for us a new opportunity for our students, for sure. Thank you.
Would you like to go, Andrew?
Go in turn, perhaps.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, you've got the
Thank you,
mic.
Professor Abdallah. So, Andrew Taylor from the Australian International Islamic College. Just some thoughts, I think, on the purpose of me joining today, and that is, I think, to engage with the university. I was heartened to hear Professor Dodd and Professor Ben talk about the future. And from my perspective as a non-Muslim leading an Islamic school, for me it's about engaging with the university, perhaps on a research basis, to look at the nature of cosmopolitanism in democratic societies and how that is changing. And the role that an Islamic school or the Islamic sector, education sector, plays in that transformation. I see multiple opportunities to explore the changes that come in the wake of the growth of Islamic society in Australia. But from an education perspective, I think one of the things is that it's not only about developing philosophy of education from an Islamic perspective for Islamic schools. It's also about enlarging the notion of education within a cosmopolitan democratic society and sharing that, which then changes the entire dynamic of the idea of education, because I think the distinctive thing about an Islamic model of education, be it Islamic pedagogy, be it Islamic care, is the sense that there is something more than individual development, individual creativity, the becoming of the self. It's a different model of what success means. And I think the schools will play a transformative role in this, not just mosques, in making sure that this broader understanding of a faith-based model within a conversation about diversity in a cosmopolitan society and its future. So I think actually this is an opportunity for Islamic schools to be at the forefront of this particular dynamic. And that's why, you know, through the Islamic pedagogy and also I think through Islamic model of care, really excited to join the panel and talk about that. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. So our journey, alhamdulillah, you know, prior to, or when I first had started at Irfan College, my name is Mustafa Evers, forgot to mention that. So when I first started with the new management, and we started off quite differently, and so there was a process of,
Switch one off, I'll take that one.
So we went through a process of really just, I guess, exploring the idea of what makes our school Islamic. And it has been a long process, and we are continually, I guess, revisiting those very fundamental questions. And along the way, you know, we had some great brothers who are also part of CITE, who are academics, but also, I think I might need another one.
Keep it straight.
Yeah. So who are academics, but also have a very close, or who are educators, but also have a great understanding of the needs within the community, working on the grassroots, I guess, on the ground. So we're very privileged to be working and to continue to work with CITE. So from the perspective of having greater, I guess, an opportunity with the theory, but also practice, to better inform what we're doing within our schools. And but again, it is a process, and I think all of the schools involved are now championing that and are willing to start to ask those very fundamental questions. And I think it's a very, really exciting time for the sector. But, yeah, thank you.
Look, thank you. Osman Karoya from Arcana College in Sydney, and also representing the Islamic Schools Association of Australia. For us and myself, this is also a story about sustainable growth and sustainability. It also leads in with a story of how, thank you, that's right, Ramila, of the evolution of the sector. In the 28 years that I've been in the Islamic school sector, we have gone from small startup schools to a community of schools across the country, with the first school, Islamic school that is, opening up in Darwin earlier this year. And opportunities such as this here means we can now grow sustainably in our goals in delivering Islamic principles. Too often in schools, especially in the emerging years, good initiatives only last as long as the driver of that initiative is at a school. It may be the principal, it may be senior staff. By having this community of schools, a community of academics led by Professor Abdallah and others, we now have got a platform where we can share, collaborate, network, so that we can best serve the communities we represent. And this is guided by world-class research, it's guided by world-class practice. So an opportunity to be a part of this platform by signing here today is the next step in the maturity of our sector. We are grateful and we are humble to be a part of this journey. Thank you.
Talha Oscar from Union College. I'm here with my colleague, Mr. Karen Miller, who's the CEO. I guess, you know, without replicating what's already been said and adding on, there's maybe three things I can derive from this meeting. The first is what it means for Union College. 2, what it means for broader society, Australian society, and thirdly, what it means for science being in the academy or academia. The first thing is, I guess, as Islamic schools, or even Muslims in general, you always look for that sense of reassurance and guidance on important and key matters, and education being the core of, I guess, the core of our mission and our vision. Not only as an Islamic school, but as Muslims, it's important to have, as the brother said, research-backed evidence that's guiding what we're doing, rather than it being based on people's opinions and own personal experiences. So to have CITE there as a sense of intellectual reassurance for us is very important in terms of the direction that we want to take. And alhamdulillah, we've got the right people there that are leading and partnering up with us and supporting us. Secondly, I think if we believe that the students that graduate from our schools are ultimately going to be representatives and vice-chairs and leaders in the broader Australian community, it's important that they're backed and grounded in an authentic understanding of what it means to be a Muslim functioning within a cosmopolitan society. So alhamdulillah, having CITE's research, for those who haven't followed, they've produced some nice publications. A lot of that really guides our curriculum, our philosophy, and also it's called Education Futures, but it's important to understand where that path is from. So alhamdulillah, CITE is sort of that foundation for us, in that we want to head somewhere, but it's important that we're grounded in an authentic path that enables us to move in an authentic future. So having CITE there is really as a blessing for us. And I think thirdly, and this probably touches upon what was Andrew, correct? What Andrew said. I think it's important for there to be also not an alternative voice in the academic sphere, but also a unique voice, because educational theory is quite diverse, and it's good to see that there's a Muslim voice also in that field that's also contributing to that broader discussion. So I guess the sight of CITE is insightful in the academy. Is that what I say?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Zakaria Matthews from Milestone Islamic School in Sydney. Firstly, to acknowledge that we have been involved with CITE since 2020, and I'd like to thank Sister Miriam, for her role in establishing CITE, the Centre for Islamic Thought and Education, because I think up to that point, there was no center to assist Muslim schools. Muslim schools, we all have really good, sincere aspirations around Islamic education, but in the absence of research and academia, we tend to be wandering in the dark or guided by our own ideas, and I think some people mentioned that before. So with the establishment of CITE, it became an important opportunity for Muslim schools, Islamic schools, to address that question about what is Islamic education. And modified, secondly, thank Mary again for allowing Modified to engage with CITE on the Islamic pedagogy project that we're currently engaging with. So we're in our third year of our engagement with CITE, and it has made a significant difference. Because one of the things that I say, we don't know what we don't know. We have this idea of Islamic education, but we need someone to guide us along that journey. And CITE has been instrumental in that for us. And this new MoU, inshallah, will mark an ongoing partnership with CITE, because it's not going to end with October this year, our 3-year partnership. We're going to continue that, inshallah. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Ali Qadri from Islamic College of Brisbane. We too have a long-standing partnership with CITE, and one of our very important reasons is, although Dr. Abdullah is in South Australia, we claimed him for Brisbane and Queensland. So we did lose him to the second best city in Australia, but that's okay. Our partnership with CITE started a few years ago, and a lot of our teachers have gone through the qualification courses with University of South Australia. But a few things I want to expand on what brothers have already mentioned in the system is what is, we are thinking about the same thing, what is Islamic schooling, what is Islamic education? Obviously we have shoulder days in Ramadan and we pray in Dhuhr Salat in the masjid in the school, but that's not where it ends. I think education is much wider, and it should permeate through everything we do in the school, and most importantly, in the way we teach, in the pedagogy of our teachers and educators. So that is something which we needed research-based approach and formalized qualifications for our staff, because as you know, there is a massive shortage of good educators in general, and then to find educators who work in Islamic schooling and understand what the values and ethos are and deliver them effectively, you do need specialized training for that purposes. And I think it has been a blessing that CITE has been established at the right time and for the sector to grow. Because that goes towards the second part, where we are now 27th year and we are no longer in the establishment phase. We are in the phase where we are established as a school, we are a large school, now we need to grow and excel. So it's perfect timing for this kind of partnership, and it's amazing that through the efforts of the CITE, the community of Islamic schools have come together. A lot of us are busy, it's hard to get hold of each other individually, but I think through this collaboration, there'll be a lot more exchanges of ideas, and overall the sector will benefit, not just Islamic education sector, but the education sector in this country. So it's been a pleasure and honor to be part of this journey, and a pleasure and honor to be here today.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Said Farouk from Unity Grammar. We've been around for about 15 years, very young school, and we've been delighted to be a part of this agreement and of course go on this journey with CITE. I think I want to put some context for those of you who don't know me about where I come from. I'm not from academia, or actually I'm from academia, but not from education. But I come from the Islamic economy. I spent 20 years of my life in the Islamic economy, which, alhamdulillah, with all of God's graces, we were able to shape. And the Islamic economy, I don't know if you know, is a global concept. And it is a $6 trillion economy. And the reason why I speak about this, of course, Islamic finance being my specialization is a big part of it, is that when we were assessing the Islamic economy globally, Islamic finance, all of you, and some of you might eat halal food, it was quite easy to identify those sectors in the world that created the Islamic economy. What we didn't ever factor in, and although my colleague who did the research with us to define that space 10 years ago, was Islamic education and its institutional capacity of education, because we looked at it everywhere in the world, because we collected data from everywhere in the world. Finance is easier, food is easier, but Islamic education as a sector was just not strong enough for us to actually quantify it. And the reason why I put that context into what you're doing here, mashallah, is I think this signing is a coming of age of this sector for many reasons. And thanks to all of its early backers for going through this. I think the education sector is vastly underestimated for what it does for economies, but also for what it does for the Islamic economy in general. It is if you think about the production of, the values-based identity which Islamic economy is based on, the education sector is really what producing it. And in the contemporary sense, as I've been working in an Islamic school, right now, for society, for Islam as a civilization, the school is the mosque. Our parents, our children spend up to 8 to 9 hours a day, increasingly we're going to make it a lot more, of their lives in this setting. And what we do to influence it and how we integrate the values that they chose to select for this school has a huge impact on how education is played out. And I want to thank, of course, CITE and the University of South Australia for taking this bet, because you are literally putting not just University of South Australia on the map, but you're putting Islamic education on the map and being a pioneer in the space globally. Because really no one else is, in the United States, and I say in the United Kingdom there's a lot of strength, but there's no level of institutional capacity, and I think institutional capacity is equivalent to Sadaqa Jariyah, as we believe, legacy building. And this place represents that for the Islamic sector. So I would love for you to consider the impact that you're going to have, because this has a ripple effect globally, not just in Australia, not just for our individual Islamic schools. And I can see it already, and the next few reports that we publish, which we publish each year, I'm sure we're going to have a lot more feature on Islamic education. So thank you so much for pioneering this work, and we're privileged to be part of it.
Thank you very much for your wise